You keep telling yourself you'll start when you feel ready, but deep down, you know that moment never really comes. You wait, you overthink, you hold back, and while you're waiting to feel confident, feel clear, feel strong, life keeps moving. Nothing changes until you do. The truth is, if you want to become that better version of yourself, you've got to start acting like it right now, even if you don't feel ready yet. This audiobook isn't here to give you empty hype. It's here to help you make real changes that stick. You'll learn how to stop letting fear and doubt run your decisions. You'll learn how to build habits that match who you want to be. And most of all, you'll learn how to take action before your mind talks you out of it. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to wait for confidence. You just need to start showing up like it matters, because it does. Chapter 1. Act like your future depends on this moment. That's not just a powerful line. That's the truth. If you stop right now and take a good look at your life, you'll realize something most people ignore their whole life. Your future doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes from the decisions you make right now, in this moment, in this exact second. And that means this moment is everything. Most people keep waiting for the right time. They tell themselves they'll start when they feel ready. When the fear is gone, when the pressure eases, when things line up perfectly. But that day doesn't come. The truth is, readiness doesn't show up before action. It shows up because of action. You don't wait to feel confident to start. You gain confidence by starting. You've got dreams, you've got goals, you've got a picture in your mind of the kind of person you want to become, but that future version of you doesn't appear by accident. You don't wake up one day and find you've become that person without effort. You have to act like them now, right now, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. When I was young, I didn't have much, no special talent, no major advantage, but I learned this. You don't need a big opportunity to change your life. You just need to take the first serious step. You need to take this moment seriously, because this is where your future begins, and if you don't act like your future depends on it, it slips away from you. Think about what happens when you waste time. You don't just lose hours, you lose identity. Every time you avoid the action you know you need to take, you reinforce the old version of yourself. The one that stays behind, the one that plays it safe, the one that's always waiting. But you don't grow by waiting, you grow by deciding that the next version of you starts now. Look in the mirror and be honest. Are your actions today matching the person you want to be, or are they matching the person you're trying to leave behind? If you want to be disciplined, you need to do what disciplined people do. If you want to be confident, you need to speak like confident people speak. If you want success, you need to stop thinking about it and start living like you deserve it. Not next week, not when you feel ready, right now. What does acting like your future depends on this moment actually mean? It means you treat this day like it's your one shot. It means you don't waste time on things that keep you small. It means you wake up with direction. You walk into the gym, the office, the meeting, the kitchen, wherever you need to be, and you show up like you mean it. You speak clearly. You walk straight. You follow through. You stop making decisions based on emotions. You start making decisions based on standards. People ask how to feel more confident. Confidence isn't a feeling you wait for. It's the reward you get for acting with courage. You want a better future? Then do something today that scares you just a little. Step into the unknown. Take the action you've been avoiding. And here's the truth. Nobody is coming to push you. Nobody is coming to do it for you. People can inspire you, people can support you, but only you can make the choice to act like your future matters to you. And it starts with small things. It starts when you wake up in the morning, and instead of grabbing your phone, You sit for 2 minutes and decide what kind of day you're going to live. It starts when you stop hitting snooze and start hitting your goals. It starts when you stop telling yourself you'll try and start telling yourself you'll do. Don't underestimate these little decisions, because they build identity, and identity builds future. And one day you'll look back and realize your life didn't change from one big move. It changed because you started acting like your future mattered more than your excuses. You don't build the future by chance, you build it by choice. Every moment you choose growth over comfort, you are building a life you can be proud of. You want success? Don't act like someone hoping things work out. Act like someone who makes things work. You want strength? Don't act like someone who breaks under pressure. Act like someone who gets better under pressure. You want peace? Don't act like someone who reacts to everything. You want peace? Don't act like someone who reacts to everything. Act like someone who chooses what gets their energy. This is the work. Not glamorous, not always fun, but this is the work. You don't need more motivation, you need more action, because the action creates the emotion. The action creates the belief. The action creates the result. If you wait until you feel like it, you'll be stuck forever. But if you act like it's urgent, like it's your only shot, you'll start to feel alive again. Because acting like your future depends on this moment wakes you up. It brings meaning to your habits. It gives you pride in your effort. It forces you to stop thinking and start doing. The problem with most people is not that they don't have dreams. It's that they don't treat those dreams like they're real. They treat them like wishes, something that might happen someday if life gets easier. But your dreams are real, your future is real, and it needs you to act like it right now. You've got time, but time doesn't wait. So if you want to win, you have to start making this moment count. Turn off the noise, get focused, make the hard choice, keep the promise you made to yourself last week, show up early, stay consistent. Stop negotiating with laziness. Stop delaying what you know needs to be done. And don't do it for anyone else. Do it because you're tired of pretending you don't care. You do care. That's why you're still listening. That's why you're still thinking about what's possible for you. So don't shrink back. Don't waste another day waiting for everything to be perfect. You are already more capable than you think, but you'll never feel it until you prove it. Start proving it. Act like this moment is the most important one you've ever lived, because in many ways it is. It's the moment that defines whether you stay the same or move forward, whether you keep talking or finally take control. So go now. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't let fear slow you down. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to act like your future depends on this moment, because it does. Chapter 2. Make one bold move without second-guessing yourself. That one decision can change the entire direction of your life. Not a dozen small changes, not 100 little adjustments, just one bold move, made with full commitment and no hesitation. The kind of decision where you don't pause for permission, you don't wait for someone to cheer you on, and you don't talk yourself out of it 5 minutes later. This is how people break patterns. This is how people who've been stuck for years finally start moving. Not by planning endlessly, not by overthinking, but by making a move that forces them to become more than who they were yesterday. Most people never do it. They live in their head too long. They think so much that they exhaust their energy before they take the first step. They imagine everything that could go wrong. They wait for clarity that never arrives. And while they're busy trying to make the perfect decision, life moves on without them. But growth doesn't wait. Opportunities don't wait. Time doesn't wait. You either take the chance or you watch it fade. A bold move means something different for everyone. For some, it's quitting a job that drains them. For others, it's applying for the job they think they're not qualified for. It might be starting that business idea you've had for years. It could be walking into the gym after avoiding it for months. It might be telling someone the truth you've been holding in. Whatever it is for you, you already know. It's been sitting in the back of your mind long enough. You've been thinking about it, debating it, feeling afraid of it. But deep down, you're not afraid of failing. You're afraid that once you make that move, you can't hide behind the old version of yourself anymore. You can't make the same excuses. You can't play small and call it safe. That's the real fear, not the move, the responsibility that comes after. But that's also the power. When you stop second-guessing yourself, you free your mind, you free your energy, you move with intention. You become someone who chooses their future, not someone who waits to be chosen. Most people live in delay. They say they'll try tomorrow. They say they'll think about it later. But the longer you wait, the harder it gets. The brain gets louder, the fear grows stronger. You build up a version of the problem in your mind that's worse than reality. But when you move, really move, and stop doubting it, something shifts. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to take the first step with certainty. One bold decision can build a kind of momentum that doubt can't catch up to. And that's where self-respect begins. You want confidence? Then do something that requires courage. Do something that most people won't do. Make a move that tells your brain, I'm serious about changing. You don't need 100 options. You need one strong decision. The kind that leaves no room for your old habits to talk you out of it. Do you know what that looks like in real life? It looks like deleting the number that keeps pulling you backward. It looks like applying even if you think you're not good enough yet. It looks like walking into a room where you don't know anyone because you know it's good for you. It looks like closing the door on distractions, saying yes when it's uncomfortable, saying no when it costs you approval. It looks like showing up to your goals early when nobody's watching and saying, I'm doing this for me. It's not about being fearless. You're not supposed to feel calm and certain every second. Bold moves usually come with nerves, but you don't let that stop you, because something in you knows. If you let fear make the decisions, you'll be stuck in the same life 5 years from now, wondering why nothing changed. When you make a bold move without second-guessing yourself, you start to rewrite your self-intention. Just rewrite the idea of self-mature. You begin to believe that maybe you are the type of person who can trust themselves, that maybe you can take a step without needing someone to approve it first, that maybe you're done playing small. And that belief builds fast, faster than you think. Here's what happens psychologically. Your brain loves patterns, so when you hesitate, doubt, delay, that becomes the pattern. You hesitate again next time, and again. But when you take a bold step with conviction, even once, you interrupt that loop. You teach your brain a new pattern. I act when it matters. And that's the pattern of people who grow. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to have all the answers. You just need to act when your moment shows up. You don't talk about it, you do it. And you don't wait for someone else to understand it either. This is your life, your growth, your decision. If you keep second-guessing, you'll wear yourself out. You'll be tired before you even move. So stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start asking, what if this is what changes everything? Because it might be. People think bold moves require more information, more time, more signs, but that's the trap. Bold moves require less noise, less overthinking, less hesitation. They require a moment of clarity where you choose yourself fully and move without looking back. And here's something that's hard to admit. If you keep waiting, you're not stuck. You're choosing it. If you keep second-guessing, it's not confusion, it's fear pretending to be logic. You already know what you need to do. You've known for a while. The only thing missing is the decision to do it without dragging it out for another week, another month, another year. You want to break through? Then don't wait for courage. Build it. Take one hard action without asking yourself 5 times whether it's right, because it is. If it moves you forward even one step, it's the right move. You'll never feel fully ready. That's the secret. No one does. Everyone feels some doubt, but people who grow, people who evolve, they feel it and act anyway. They know that action changes self-belief faster than thinking ever could. So what's that one bold move you've been putting off? You don't need to tell anyone. You don't need to make it dramatic. You just need to commit, quietly, clearly, without apology, and then do it like you've already decided who you're going to become. Because you have. You are no longer the person who overthinks, who delays, who lets fear lead. You are the person who takes ownership, who moves toward discomfort, who trusts their instincts. This is the moment where your life can start to change. Not tomorrow, not when you feel stronger, now. Because once you make that bold move without second-guessing yourself, you'll wonder why you waited so long. The fear will shrink, the noise will fade, the excuses will lose their grip, and you'll feel something stronger take its place. A quiet pride. Have a sense of power, not from the outcome, but from the fact that you moved. That's how you change, not by thinking more, not by waiting, but by taking one real step with no exit plan. That's how you start becoming who you were always meant to be, not when the timing is perfect, but when your commitment becomes louder than your doubt. And today, right now, that's your job. Make one bold move without second-guessing yourself, and watch how your life begins to shift.
Chapter 3. Say no to anything that weakens your focus. This is one of the hardest things to do, but it's also one of the most important. Your focus is your power. It's your fuel. And if you give it away too easily, you'll never have enough left to build the life you want. That's why this lesson is simple but not easy. You have to protect your focus like it actually matters, because it does. The life you're trying to build requires your full attention, and the truth is, you can't give your best energy to everything. You have to choose what deserves it and what doesn't. The problem with most people isn't that they're lazy, it's that they're distracted. They're always doing something, but rarely doing what actually matters. They wake up with good intentions, but those intentions get pulled in 10 different directions before noon. Messages, notifications, gossip, unnecessary tasks, emotional drama, all these little things steal their ability to lock in and move forward. And they let it happen, every day, without even realizing it. If you want to change your life, you need to get real about where your energy is going, because it's not infinite. You only have so much attention to give, and if you spend it on things that don't push you forward, you stay stuck. You might look busy, but deep down you know you're not making progress. That's a hard truth, but it's a necessary one. You have to be able to say no, not out of arrogance, not because you think you're better than others, but because you know what you're building, and you know that distractions, even small ones, can pull you completely off course. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that matters. And once you really understand that, you start thinking twice before you agree to anything. You don't need more time. You need fewer distractions. You don't need more motivation. You need more discipline. Discipline to protect your focus, like your future depends on it, because it actually does. There are people who start every morning with a plan and end every night wondering why they didn't get anything done. That's not a time problem. That's a focus problem. It's not that they didn't try, it's that they didn't guard their attention. They let too many things interfere. One conversation turned into an hour. One glance at their phone turned into 20. One minor task turned into a rabbit hole, and now their goals are once again pushed off to tomorrow. But what happens when tomorrow looks just like today? Nothing changes, and deep down they know it. That's why saying no is a skill you have to develop. You have to say no to people who don't respect your time. You have to say no to opportunities that pull you away from your purpose. You have to say no to distractions that promise short-term comfort but steal long-term growth. This isn't about becoming cold, it's about becoming clear. Clear on who you want to be. Clear on what actually matters. Clear on how you want to feel at the end of the day. Proud that you stayed focused, or disappointed that you got pulled into the noise again. If you want to become the person you admire, then you have to start thinking like them. Successful people don't give their time to everything. They don't reply to every message. They don't scroll mindlessly. They don't engage in conversations that drain them. They say no, often, and without guilt, because they understand the cost of being distracted. And here's something to remember. Not every distraction looks like one. Some come dressed as friendships. Some come as opportunities. Some come as habits you've had for years. That's why it takes self-awareness to spot them. You have to be honest with yourself. What's helping you grow? What's keeping you stuck? If something weakens your focus, it weakens your future. That's the truth. If something pulls you away from your direction, then it doesn't belong in your daily life. At least not now. Maybe later, but not now. Not when you're building. Not when you're climbing. You've got to learn how to pause before you say yes. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every question deserves your energy. Not every emotion needs a reaction. Protecting your focus means controlling where your energy flows, and that means cutting off what doesn't serve you. Even when it's uncomfortable, there will be people who don't understand, people who take it personally. But this is your life, not theirs. You're not here to explain your every move. You're here to move forward. And moving forward takes discipline. Discipline to keep your head clear. Discipline to say no. Not once, but every time. Something tries to pull you off track. Your goals require attention. Not leftover attention. Not scattered attention. Real attention. And you can't give that if you're constantly pulled in 10 directions. You can't focus deeply if you're always checking in with everyone else's expectations. You have to create space. Mental space. Emotional space. Physical space. Space to think clearly. Space to work without interruption. Space to feel progress. That space doesn't just happen. You create it by saying no to the clutter. Saying no to drama. Saying no to distraction. Dressed as productivity. You don't get stronger by adding more. You get stronger by removing what's in the way. That's how focus works. It's not about doing everything better. It's about doing the right things and blocking out the rest. You'll be surprised how much better your mind works when you stop trying to manage so many unimportant things. You'll notice how much more peaceful your life feels when you stop letting every small thing demand your attention. You'll realize how capable you really are when your energy is directed instead of scattered. But it starts with one decision. Stop giving your focus to things that don't deserve it. Start saying no. No to unnecessary conversations. No to wasted hours online. No to shallow distraction. No to people who always take and never give. No to habits that used to comfort you, but now just slow you down. No to everything that isn't aligned with who you're becoming. You have to get used to disappointing others, because the truth is, people will ask for your time without thinking about what it costs you. They'll expect access to your energy without earning it. They'll pull you in directions that help them, but hurt you. That's not selfish on their part, it's just how people are. But you have to be the one to draw the line. You teach people how to treat your time by how you protect it. If you're always available, always responding, always involved in everything, you'll never have enough left to give to your goals. You'll feel drained. You'll feel like you're trying hard but not moving forward. That feeling, that's the price of unfocused effort. You don't need to be mean. You just need to be honest. Tell yourself the truth about what's helping and what's hurting. Then act on that truth. And don't apologize for it. People who want you to win will understand. People who don't, well, they were never really in your corner to begin with. Protect your energy like it matters, because it does. Protect your space like your dreams depend on it, because they do. You only get so many chances to really focus, and if you waste them, they don't come back. That's the real cost of distraction. Lost potential. So draw the line. Cut the noise. Clear the path. Say no. Even when it feels difficult. Say no. Even when it feels unfamiliar. Say no. Because your focus is worth more than fitting in. You're not here to be available to everything. You're here to become something powerful. Something focused, something clear, and that starts now with a firm no to anything that weakens your focus.
Chapter 4. Choose growth every time your comfort zone shows up. That's a rule you live by when you're serious about becoming the person you say you want to be. Not once in a while, not only when it's easy, every time, because your comfort zone doesn't show up to help you, it shows up to hold you still. It shows up with soft excuses and easy outs. It tells you to wait, to slow down, to stay where things feel safe. But safety isn't where progress lives. Growth starts exactly where comfort ends, and if you don't choose growth, you stay stuck in the same cycles no matter how much potential you have. Every day you're going to face moments where comfort knocks on your door. You'll feel tired. You'll want to avoid a challenge. You'll want to hold back instead of speaking up. You'll want to take the familiar route even when it doesn't serve you anymore. And in those moments, you don't need to wait for motivation. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to choose growth. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they keep choosing what feels good over what actually helps them. They stay in patterns that are familiar but unproductive. They keep habits that feel natural but lead nowhere. And then they wonder why they feel stuck. Why nothing changes. But the truth is, nothing changes because they're not willing to get uncomfortable. If you want to become someone new, you have to do what you've never done. You have to lean into the discomfort instead of running from it. You have to get used to the awkward, the uncertain, the unfamiliar. That's where you expand. That's where you learn who you really are. And that's where you start to build a life that looks different from the one you're trying to outgrow. There is no transformation without discomfort. That's not a motivational phrase. That's a fact. You cannot build new skills, new habits, or new levels of confidence if you keep choosing the path that feels easiest. You grow when you stretch yourself, when you put yourself in situations that require more from you. And the more often you do it, the stronger you get, not just physically or mentally, but emotionally. Growth teaches you how to handle pressure. It shows you how to trust yourself in hard situations. It helps you build resilience.
But you only get those rewards when you stop protecting your comfort and start protecting your potential. The comfort zone isn't always obvious. Sometimes it shows up as a decision to stay quiet instead of speaking with honesty. Sometimes it shows up as procrastination, wrapped in the lie that you're waiting for the right time. Sometimes it comes disguised as self-care, when really, you're just avoiding the work. And the only way to beat it is to catch it when it shows up and make a conscious choice to go beyond it. You have to become the kind of person who sees the easy option and rejects it. Not because you want life to be hard, but because you want your life to mean something. You want to feel proud. You want to look back and know that you didn't play small when you had a chance to grow. Every time you choose growth, you become a little more of the person you were meant to be. You build character. You build courage. You build the ability to move forward even when you feel fear or discomfort. And that ability changes everything. Because once you train yourself to choose growth, you stop being controlled by fear. You stop avoiding the challenge. You stop needing everything to be perfect before you begin. You learn how to act, how to adjust, how to push through instead of pause. People often ask how to become more confident, more driven, more successful. The answer is simple. Stop choosing comfort. Start choosing the thing that forces you to rise, and do it consistently. Not just when it's convenient. If it scares you, do it. If it challenges you, embrace it. If it pushes you to grow, lean into it. Because those are the moments that shape your future. Not the easy days, not the routine ones, but the ones where you said yes to growth, when comfort begged you to stay the same. You won't always get it right. Some days you'll fall back into comfort. That's part of the process. But every time you catch yourself and choose growth again, you get stronger, and eventually, choosing growth becomes your instinct, not your exception. You start to crave it. You start to look for it. You start to feel uncomfortable when things get too easy. Because you know ease doesn't mean progress. It just means you're not stretching. And if you're not stretching, you're not building. That mindset changes everything. You walk into difficult conversations with clarity instead of fear. You face hard days with intention instead of avoidance. You take on new roles, new habits, new goals, because you've stopped letting comfort run your life. And make no mistake, growth isn't just about working harder. It's about choosing better, choosing what builds you instead of what maintains you, choosing what aligns with your highest standards instead of your current feelings, choosing what serves your future instead of your fear. This kind of discipline is rare. Most people will tell you to take it easy, to slow down, to not push too hard. But those people don't understand what you're trying to build. They don't feel your hunger. They don't see your vision. You do, and that's why it's on you to keep choosing growth, even when no one else is doing it. You won't always feel like it, but that's not the point. The point is to build a mindset that works even when your mood doesn't. A mindset that doesn't need permission, that doesn't need to be convinced, that knows what to do when the comfort zone shows up and chooses growth anyway. That's how leaders are made. That's how champions are built. That's how ordinary people create extraordinary lives. Not by waiting for the perfect moment, but by choosing the better one again and again. Especially when it's the harder one. Every time you do this, you send a message to yourself. I'm serious, and that message sticks. It builds self-trust, it builds inner strength, and it sets a standard you can't unsee. Once you start living like this, you can't go back to your old ways. They won't feel right anymore, because when you've tasted growth, comfort feels like regret. So now it's your turn. Look at your life, look at your habits, look at your choices. Are they protecting your comfort, or are they building your future? This isn't about pushing yourself to burnout. It's about being honest about what's holding you back. And most of the time it's not other people. It's not lack of time. It's not the world. It's your comfort zone. and the decisions you keep making to stay in it. So change those decisions. Replace hesitation with movement. Replace excuses with standards. Replace fear with action, and choose growth every single time that comfort tries to talk you out of it. Because the truth is, your best life is not hiding behind comfort. It's waiting beyond it, and only the version of you that's willing to grow will get there.
Chapter 5. Walk into every room like you belong there. That's not arrogance, that's self-respect. It means you understand your value before anyone else has to confirm it. It means you've decided that you won't wait for approval to feel worthy. It means you carry yourself with quiet strength, not because you think you're better than anyone, but because you've stopped acting like you're less than everyone. In every room you enter, you bring something with you: your story, your perspective, your effort, your mindset. And when you forget that, you start shrinking, you start doubting, you start searching for signs that say it's okay for you to be here. But you don't need those signs. The truth is, you belong wherever you choose to grow. You belong in places where people are striving. You belong in rooms where growth happens, where ambition lives, where discipline is expected, not because you're perfect, but because you've committed to being better. Too many people walk into rooms with their heads down. They're physically present, but mentally, they've already told themselves they don't measure up. They compare. They overthink. They try to say the right thing instead of saying the real thing. And by the time the moment passes, they realize they didn't show up fully. They played small. Again, you can't lead like that. You can't grow like that. You can't build the life you want if you keep shrinking in the moments that matter. You have to walk in with belief, not in some fake version of yourself, but in the version you're working to become. You don't need to pretend to be the smartest. You don't need to be the loudest voice. But you need to be someone who doesn't apologize for taking up space. That starts internally. It starts with the decision that you're done trying to fit into rooms that weren't even built for your full potential. If a room makes you feel small, check your posture, not just your physical posture, but your mental one. Are you acting like someone who knows their value, or someone still hoping to be noticed? Belonging is not given, it's claimed. You don't need someone to invite you to grow. You don't need someone to hand you confidence. You walk in, you show up, you speak clearly, you listen fully, and you remind yourself, I'm allowed to be here because I chose to be here. This isn't about being fake. It's not about putting on a show. It's about letting the world see the version of you that shows up with intention. The one that's focused. The one that does the work. The one that doesn't wait for someone to say, you're good enough. You say it first. You believe it first. There will be rooms where people don't expect you. Walk in anyway. There will be conversations where you're not the expert. Speak honestly anyway. There will be situations where you're nervous. Stay anyway. You don't grow by only showing up where it's easy. You grow by walking in anyway. Even when you feel unsure, and deciding to stay grounded. Confidence isn't something you wait to feel. It's something you practice. Every time you walk into a room with your shoulders back, your chin up, your voice steady, you're practicing. You're training yourself to believe that your presence matters. Because it does. You don't have to dominate the room. You just have to stop hiding in it. People notice when someone carries quiet certainty. They might not say it out loud, but they feel it. And when you start showing up like that, not trying to impress, but just being real and ready, you change how people see you. But more importantly, you change how you see yourself. And that's the real win. Not the compliments, not the applause, but the moment you realize I didn't shrink today.
The moment you walk away knowing you didn't hold back who you are just to blend in. Think about how many opportunities you've missed because you told yourself you weren't ready. How many doors you didn't knock on because you assumed they'd be shut. How many times you were in the right room but didn't let not your presence be felt. That's over now. You don't need more approval. You need more belief. You need to walk in and let your actions do the talking. Be respectful. Yes. Be humble. Yes. But never be so unsure that you erase yourself from the conversation before it even starts. You are not lucky to be in the room. You worked to be there. You made decisions that others didn't. You stayed focused when others got distracted. You made sacrifices that no one saw. That's why you belong. Not because someone gave you a chance, but because you gave yourself one. Stop waiting for confidence to come before you show up. Show up until confidence to come before you show up. Show up when your hands shake. Show up when your voice isn't perfect. Show up when your legs feel heavy. Show up when your mind says, "What if I fail?" And answer it by showing up anyway. You don't prove your worth by playing small. You prove it by participating fully. You prove it by raising your standards. You prove it by walking into every room like someone who has something valuable to offer. Not because of ego, but because you've trained, you've learned, and you're still learning. That's enough. You know who doesn't belong in the room. The version of you that keeps playing it safe. The version that stays silent when you have something real to say. The version that keeps looking for a sign that it's okay to believe in yourself. That version has to go, because the version of you who takes action, who stays consistent, who honors their goals, who doesn't lower themselves to fit in. That version needs space to breathe. That version walks into the room without needing to take over, but with the full presence of someone who respects their own time and purpose. The way you walk into a room sets the tone for everything. If you walk in like you're unsure, like you're still waiting for someone to tell you who you are, then people will reflect that back to you. But if you walk in grounded, clear and calm, people respond differently. Not because you're loud, but because you're certain. And certainty is powerful. Don't fake it. Build it. One step at a time. One room at a time. One interaction at a time. You get better by doing it again and again. You don't need to master it overnight. You just need to stop excusing yourself from the spaces you've earned. When you walk in with the belief that you have something to offer, you open doors that self-doubt keeps shut. And when those doors open, your life starts to shift. Not because the room changed, but because you did. You can't keep acting like a visitor in your own future. Stop tiptoeing through life hoping you don't get noticed. Stand firm. Be direct. Take responsibility for how you present yourself. Your body language, your words, your choices, they all send a message. And the message should be, I'm not here by accident. I'm here because I showed up. I'm here because I'm building something. I'm here because I've decided that I won't keep playing small just to feel safe. This is how your future begins. With one decision to walk in like you belong. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. The rooms you want to be in aren't waiting for perfection. They're waiting for presence, for honesty, for commitment, for people who are willing to grow publicly, who are willing to be seen, who are willing to show up even when they're not at their best. You belong in those rooms, but only if you stop leaving yourself out. So next time the door opens, don't hesitate. Don't shrink. Don't second guess. Just walk in. Steady, clear and sure. And keep walking in until the room matches the standard you've set for your life.
Chapter 6. Delete the thought that you're not ready yet.
That single belief is holding more people back than anything else. It's not their lack of skill. It's not their lack of time. It's not the world being unfair. It's this one thought, the quiet lie they keep repeating in their head, that says, "I'm not ready yet." It sounds reasonable. It feels responsible. But the longer you hold on to that thought, the longer you delay your own life. The more you repeat it, the more you believe it. And before you know it, you've wasted weeks, months, even years waiting for some magical moment when you'll suddenly feel prepared enough to finally begin. But here's the truth. There is no ready. There's only action. The people who move forward in life are not the ones who had everything figured out. They're the ones who started before they felt ready. They took the step anyway. They made the call anyway. They applied anyway. They spoke up anyway. And because they did, they learned faster, grew stronger, and got ahead while others stood still. You think readiness is about feeling confident, but confidence comes after movement, not before. You can't wait for belief to show up and then start. You have to move without it. That's how belief is built. By proving to yourself, through action, that you're capable of more than your mind has been telling you. The thought that you're not ready is built on fear. Fear of messing up. Fear of being seen. Fear of falling short. But let's be honest. You've already spent so much time playing small, and where has it taken you? Playing it safe hasn't brought the results you want. Waiting hasn't made you feel any more prepared. It's just made you more frustrated every single time you tell yourself, "I'm not ready." What you're really doing is giving fear permission to take control. You're handing over your future to hesitation. You're allowing the comfort of indecision to feel more familiar than the discomfort of growth. And that has to stop. That thought doesn't protect you. It traps you. You have goals that matter. You have dreams you keep thinking about. You have ideas, plans, and ambitions that show up in your head every single day. But none of them are coming to life until you do something uncomfortable. And that starts by deleting the thought that keeps telling you, "Not now." It's not about being reckless. It's not about rushing. It's about no longer lying to yourself that you need more time to become who you're capable of being. That version of you is built in the process, not in preparation, not in theory, not in waiting, in doing. There's a version of you that's already strong enough to begin. You've been through enough. You've experienced enough. You've learnt enough. You've survived enough. But your mind still tries to convince you that you need something else before you start. Some extra knowledge, some perfect timing, some green light. You don't. What you need is to trust that the next step will teach you more than any amount of thinking ever could. You grow in motion, not in delay. Think about it. Every person you admire started before they had it all together. They didn't wait until every fear disappeared. They didn't sit back until they were 100% confident. They didn't have a secret formula. They just began. And that one decision made everything else possible. You have to stop repeating the sentence, "I'm not ready," because every time you say it, you program yourself to avoid the very thing that will change your life. And when you avoid it long enough, you start calling it wisdom. You start calling it timing. You start calling it being realistic. But it's not wisdom. It's hesitation disguised as logic. Start looking at your hesitation for what it is. Resistance. Resistance to effort. Resistance to discomfort. Resistance to change. And the only way to break that resistance is to take the action you've been avoiding. It doesn't need to be huge. It just needs to be real. Apply for the thing. Sign up for the challenge. Start the first page. Ask the question. Make the move. Whatever it is that you've been telling yourself you're not ready for, go toward it. That's where your growth lives. And if your mind pushes back, if the thought creeps in again, if that voice says, "But what if I fail?" you answer with action. You say, "I'll learn." and you move forward anyway. Because readiness isn't something you get from thinking, it's something you earn from doing. Let go of the false belief that readiness comes from waiting. It doesn't. Waiting only strengthens your doubt. It gives your fear more time to build walls around your potential. But when you act, even while afraid, you tear those walls down, one brick at a time, one bold step at a time. The idea that you need more time is one of the most convincing lies the mind tells, because it sounds wise, it sounds safe, but it keeps you stuck in the same patterns. You don't need more time, you need more courage. Courage to begin without everything figured out. Courage to be imperfect. Courage to mess up and keep going. That's what readiness really is. A willingness to try while you're still unsure. A decision to start even when it's uncomfortable. A belief that your future is worth more than your fear. So right now, make a new rule. Delete the thought that says you're not ready. You don't listen to it anymore. You don't feed it. You don't repeat it. Every time it shows up, you replace it with movement. You don't wait to feel prepared. You become prepared by showing up and learning in real time. And every time you do this, you build something powerful. Momentum. Momentum that carries you into new opportunities. Momentum that creates progress faster than planning ever could. Momentum that builds the life you've been thinking about for far too long. That thought that says not yet. It's the barrier between the life you have and the life you want. It's time to tear it down. One action, one decision, one move at a time. Delete the thought. Act like you're already capable. Do the thing that makes you grow, and never give hesitation more power than your purpose.
Chapter 7. Do what scares you until it feels normal. That's how real change happens. You don't grow by avoiding discomfort. You grow by leaning into it, facing it head-on, and pushing through it over and over again until your mind stops seeing it as a threat. You can't become strong by hiding from the hard things. You can't build real confidence by only doing what's familiar. The things that scare you are often the exact things you need to face if you want to evolve into the person you say you want to become. The truth is, fear is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Fear is normal. Fear shows up anytime you step into something unknown. It's part of the process. But if you wait for fear to disappear before you take action, you'll never move. You'll stand at the edge of every opportunity, talking yourself out of it. You'll stay stuck in cycles that feel safe, but keep you small. Doing what scares you isn't about being reckless. It's about being honest with yourself. If something scares you and it also leads you to growth, that's a sign you need to walk toward it, not away from it. Most people spend their entire lives organizing their days around what feels comfortable, but comfortable doesn't transform you. It keeps you repeating old behavior. It keeps you locked into habits you've outgrown. It keeps you watching instead of participating. The people who change their lives are not fearless. They just stop letting fear be in charge. They take the action anyway. And eventually what used to terrify them becomes normal. That's the goal. You do the hard thing so many times that your brain stops reacting to it as danger. It becomes part of your identity. It becomes part of your routine. Think about the first time you did something that used to scare you. Maybe it was speaking in front of people. Maybe it was going to the gym. Maybe it was being honest in a difficult conversation. The first time probably felt shaky. Maybe you overthought it for hours. Maybe you almost backed out. But then you did it, and you survived. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but you proved to yourself that you could do it. And from that moment on, the fear started to lose its grip. That's what you need to do with everything that matters. Keep doing it until it no longer controls you, until it no longer feels like a threat, until it becomes part of what you do without hesitation. You can't think your way through fear. You have to act your way through it. Overthinking only feeds it. Avoidance strengthens it. The only way to shrink fear is to face it with action. One step at a time,
one uncomfortable move at a time, not waiting for the right moment, not waiting to feel strong, but stepping into it right now as you are with what you've got. There's no other way. The life you want is on the other side of fear, not behind it. And that means you have to be the kind of person who keeps showing up for the hard things until they no longer feel hard. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. When you do what scares you, you stretch. You learn things you could never learn by sitting still. You discover who you are when things don't go smoothly. And you start to realize that fear isn't as powerful as you once believed. It's just noise. It's just a feeling. And feelings don't have to control your behavior. Most people let fear talk them out of progress. They get close to taking action, and then the thoughts show up. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What will people think? And those thoughts stop them. They go back to what's easy, and then they tell themselves stories about why they'll try later. But later looks exactly like today. Because nothing changed. They let the fear win again. You can't build a better life if you keep doing that. You can't become someone new if you only move when it feels safe. Growth demands a different response. It demands that you move toward what scares you, not away from it. Fear has a purpose. It shows you what matters. If you're scared to do something, there's usually meaning behind it. It's not just about the task, it's about what the task represents. Maybe it represents independence. Maybe it represents truth. Maybe it represents letting go of old identity. Whatever it is, fear is the signal. Action is the solution. You don't overcome fear by becoming numb to it. You overcome it by becoming skilled at acting in spite of it. You train yourself to take the next step even when your hands shake. You train yourself to speak up even when your voice isn't steady. You train yourself to face the fear so often that it stops feeling like fear. It starts feeling like you're normal. Imagine who you'd become if you stopped avoiding every single thing that made you nervous. Imagine the progress you'd make if you started running toward the thing instead of waiting for it to feel easier. That's where you find your real strength. Not in moments of ease, but in moments of courage. And no, it's not going to be comfortable. That's the whole point. It's not supposed to be easy at first. It's supposed to test you. It's supposed to stretch you. It's supposed to wake you up and say, this is what it feels like to grow. And when you accept that, you stop avoiding the stretch. You start inviting it. You do the thing. You repeat it. You show up again. You try again. And somewhere along the way, you notice something. What used to shake you doesn't anymore. What used to make your heart race now feels like routine. What used to feel like a wall now feels like a door you've walked through 100 times. That's what happens when you do what scares you until it feels normal. You build a new normal. You rewire your brain. You reshape your mind. You stop being the person who says, I wish I could, and you become the person who says, I've done it before, I can do it again. That's what growth looks like in real life. Not glamorous, not perfect, but powerful. Because you stop being controlled by you stop shrinking in the moments that count. You stop giving up on opportunities just because they come wrapped in discomfort. So ask yourself, what have you been avoiding? What keeps making you say, I'll do it later? What fear keeps showing up in your life over and over again? That's the thing you need to do. Not because it's easy, but because it matters. That's the thing that's holding your next level hostage. And the only way to unlock it is to face it, walk into it and do it enough times that it becomes just another part of who you are. No more excuses, no more waiting, no more feeding the fear with inaction. You have the strength, you have the ability. You just need the repetition. Take the first step, Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait until the nerves are gone. Let the fear be there, but don't let it stop you. Do it once, then again, until your nervous system adjusts, until your confidence grows, until your identity shifts. Because once you start living like that, nothing will scare you the same way again. Not because life got easier, but because you got better at doing the hard things anyway. That's how you become unshakable. That's how you build self-respect. That's how you create a life that reflects your real potential. So go do what scares you. Do it with your heart racing. Do it with your doubts. Do it while your voice shakes. But do it and keep doing it until it feels like just another part of you. Because it is.
Chapter 8. Be consistent even when no one sees your effort. This is what separates the people who grow from the people who stay stuck. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not who gets noticed first. It's about who keeps going even when no one is watching, even when no one claps, even when the results are slow and the reward feels far away. If you only stay consistent when people are paying attention, your progress will always depend on external validation. But when you do the work even in silence, even in solitude, even in frustration, that's when you start becoming unshakable. Everyone wants the result. Everyone wants the transformation. But very few are willing to do the boring, invisible, uncelebrated work that leads to it. The early mornings, the quiet evenings, the repetitions, the moments where it's just you, your goals, and the choice to either keep showing up or start making excuses. That's where your character is built. Not when everything feels good, but when you keep going in the dark before the light shows up. You don't grow by being seen. You grow by showing up when no one is looking. It's easy to post progress when people are watching. It's easy to look motivated when others are cheering you on. But what about when no one checks in? What about when you don't get praise? What about when your effort goes unnoticed? Do you still show up? Do you still hold the line? Do you still do the work? That's the real test. It's tempting to chase approval, to tie your worth to whether anyone noticed your discipline today. But your future doesn't care about applause. It cares about repetition. And repetition doesn't require attention. It requires decision. The decision to commit, to stay focused, to follow through even when your progress is invisible. There are days when the results will feel non-existent. Days when your efforts feel pointless. Days when you question if any of it matters. But those are the days that count the most, because those are the days when you either build your strength or abandon your standards. Success doesn't show up all at once. It shows up slowly, quietly, in the background. When you're consistent, you're laying bricks, one at a time, day after day. Most of those bricks won't be seen. No one's going to praise you for showing up on a random Wednesday. No one's going to celebrate your small wins, but you will know. And that's what matters. You know when you showed up anyway. You know when you didn't skip. You know when you could have made excuses but didn't. That self-respect you build in private, it shows up later in public. Not as a big announcement but as quiet confidence, as unshakable standard, as someone who doesn't need permission to stay committed. People ask how to stay motivated, but motivation isn't the foundation. Consistency is. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you feel it, most days you won't. But discipline, that's what carries you when feelings fade. And you can't build discipline if you're only committed when people are paying attention. Be the person who keeps their promises even when no one else knows. Be the person who finishes what they start even when no one else remembers. Be the person who works on their craft even when the world forgets. Because you're not doing it for a reaction. You're doing it because that's who you've decided to be. When you stay consistent, you build trust with yourself, and that trust becomes your edge.
Because most people quit, most people drift, most people lower their standards when the spotlight turns off. But not you. You keep going. You keep showing up. You keep honoring your word. And that's what sets you apart. Think about who you want to be a year from now. Stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more focused. That version of you doesn't arrive through random effort. That version is built on small actions, repeated daily. Especially on the days when it would have been easier to skip. And yes, you'll be tired sometimes. You'll feel unseen. You'll wonder if it's worth it. But every time you push through that, you become a little more powerful, not because you did something massive, but because you didn't give in to inconsistency. The world is full of people who start strong and fade. People who commit for a week and then disappear. Don't be one of them. Be the one who stays in the game. Be the one who keeps their focus tight. Be the one who builds momentum in silence. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to broadcast your effort. Just do the work. Let your progress speak. When it's ready, let your results show up on their own time. In the meantime, keep laying the foundation. Keep strengthening your habits. Keep refining your character. If you can stay consistent when no one's watching, you'll be ready when the moment arrives. You won't need to fake confidence. You'll have earned it. You won't need to hope things work out. You'll have built the structure for it. You won't be surprised by your success. You'll know it came from the work no one saw. The hardest part of growth isn't the start, it's the repetition, the choice to keep going without needing extra motivation, the patience to build while the world is silent, the courage to keep your standards high even when you're not being rewarded. Most people are chasing quick results, but the ones who win in the long run are chasing mastery, and mastery takes time. It takes patience. It takes showing up for years. You can't fake that. You can't shortcut that. You just have to do the work. Again and again. There's something powerful about knowing you've been consistent in silence. It gives you a sense of inner pride, a calm strength. You're no longer dependent on praise or feedback. You know what you're building. You know why you're showing up. And you know that all of it matters, even if no one else sees it yet. So don't stop. Don't slow down just because no one's watching. Don't lower your effort just because the applause didn't come. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. Stay true to your standards, because the reward isn't in being seen. It's in becoming the person who doesn't quit when no one's clapping. You want to be great? Then do what most people won't. Keep going when it's boring. Keep going when it's quiet. Keep going when you don't feel like it. That's what builds greatness. Not one big moment, but thousands of small ones, stacked on top of each other. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is in your ability to stay consistent when no one's watching. That's the truth. And once you accept it, everything changes. So keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Keep honoring your path, even when it's invisible, even when it's thankless, even when it feels like no one cares, because the results always come, but only to those who stayed consistent long enough to earn them.
Chapter 9. Hold yourself to the standard you admire in others. That's where real growth begins. Not by chasing someone else's life, but by building your own life on values you actually respect. If you look up to people who are disciplined, focused, honest, driven, calm under pressure, relentless with their goals, then you have to demand the same from yourself. Not someday, not when it's convenient. Right now, because admiration without action changes nothing. If you're inspired by greatness but don't live by any of the same rules, all you're doing is watching from a distance. There's a part of you that already knows this. You've seen people do what you wish you were doing. You've watched others succeed and thought to yourself, that's what I want. But wanting doesn't change you. Copying someone's moves doesn't make you powerful. Holding yourself to the same level of personal accountability they do, that's where the change starts. You don't build a better life by lowering your standards. You build it by raising them, and then sticking to them,
even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. It's easy to talk about goals. It's easy to be impressed by people who are achieving them, but are you matching their effort? Are you matching their discipline? Are you putting in the hours behind the scenes? Or are you still hoping for results while living by rules that would never create them? There's no shortcut here. If you want to feel proud, if you want to feel strong, if you want to become the person you keep thinking about, then you have to make your life reflect the values you admire. That means being honest about your habits. That means calling yourself out when you start making excuses. That means doing the work when nobody's watching. That means keeping promises even when nobody would know if you broke them. You know what greatness looks like. You've seen it. You've read about it. You've heard it in other people's stories. But now the question is, are you willing to become the kind of person who lives by those same rules? Start with the basics. If you admire people who wake up early, stop sleeping in. If you admire people who speak clearly and confidently, stop mumbling through your thoughts. If you admire people who stay calm under pressure, stop reacting emotionally to every challenge. Don't just notice what you respect, adopt it. Apply it. Practice it. That's what building character looks like in the real world. You don't wait for someone to tell you to step up. You decide that how you live must match what you believe in. You stop letting your standards slide just because life gets messy. You stop lowering the bar when discipline becomes inconvenient. And don't misunderstand, holding yourself to a higher standard isn't about being perfect. It's about being committed. It's about being tired of your own excuses. It's about refusing to keep breaking promises to yourself, because every time you let yourself off the hook, you reinforce a version of you that you're trying to outgrow. That's why this isn't just about results. It's about who you become when you stop making exceptions, when you stop saying, just this once, and start saying, this matters more, because it does. It matters that you do what you say. It matters that you follow through. It matters that your actions line up with your values. The truth is, most people admire traits they're not willing to earn. They want the outcome, but not the process. They want the strength, but not the effort. You can't just wish for confidence, or clarity, or power. You have to build it. And that starts by deciding what kind of person you're going to be, and then acting like it, even when it's uncomfortable. You admire discipline, then be disciplined. You admire honesty, then be honest, especially when it's inconvenient. You admire people who stay in shape, then stop making excuses, and take care of your health. You admire people who build wealth, then stop wasting money and start building smart habits. It's not complicated, but it is hard, and that's why most people don't do it. But you're not most people. You've made it this far because something in you is ready to take full responsibility. That's what this chapter is about. No more watching, no more talking, no more sitting on the sidelines, feeling inspired but stuck. From here on out you build your life with standards you respect. You stop breaking your own rules. You stop chasing comfort. You stop acting like you've got unlimited time. You know what kind of person you want to become. So now, start living like them. Not when it's easy. Right now, right when the distractions show up. Right when your emotions try to take control. Right when the excuses start sounding logical again. That's when it counts. That's when you raise your standard and keep it there. No matter what, because here's the secret. The people you admire, they're not special, they're just consistent. They show up on the days they don't feel like it. They train their mind to work when it's tired. They say no when distractions try to pull them off course. They don't have more time, they just use it better. And you can do the same. You can wake up tomorrow and decide, I'm done living below the standard I admire. And once you do that, something shifts inside you. You walk different. You speak different. You carry yourself with more intention, because you're no longer living for approval. You're living by principle, and that gives you power that no one can give you. It gives you momentum that doesn't need motivation. It gives you pride that no praise can replace. So what do you respect in others? What kind of discipline, character, strength, or focus do you see and say, "That's what I want"? Then make it real. Don't just observe it. Embody it. Don't just think about it. Act on it. Don't just wish for it. Become it. It's not about copying anyone else's life. It's about honoring your own potential. It's about refusing to keep playing below your ability. It's about raising your own standards and sticking to them when it would be easier not to. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just one strong decision away from moving forward. One moment of clarity. One choice to stop being impressed and start being intentional. Hold yourself to the standard you admire. Not once, not for a week, every day, until it becomes your normal, until it becomes automatic, until it becomes who you are, not just who you look up to, because the people who inspire you, they started somewhere too, and they got there by making this same decision, and now it's your turn. Start now, start today, raise the bar, and don't lower it for anything. Chapter 10. Prove to yourself that action changes everything forever. This is not just a motivational phrase, it's the truth that separates those who wish from those who build. Action isn't just something you do when you feel ready. It's the key that unlocks everything you want. And not once, not temporarily, forever. Because the moment you begin acting, everything starts moving. Your mindset shifts. Your identity begins to evolve. Your life, piece by piece, starts to realign with the future you've been thinking about for far too long. You've had ideas, you've had plans, you've had intentions, but the only thing that turns them into reality is action. Not talking, not dreaming, not waiting for perfect timing, just doing, just taking the first step, no matter how small, and refusing to stop. That's the part most people miss. They think change comes from more information, but the truth is, most people don't need more advice, they need more follow-through. They need to stop convincing themselves they're not ready and start proving they're serious. And you don't prove it to anyone else. You prove it to yourself. That's the only proof that matters, because deep down, what you believe about yourself controls how far you'll go. And the only way to change those beliefs is by doing what you've been avoiding. If you've ever felt stuck, unsure, frustrated with your lack of progress, it's not because you're broken, it's because you haven't fully trusted what action can do. You haven't committed long enough to see the result. You've dipped your toe in and expected the sea to open. But life doesn't work like that. You don't get breakthroughs from hesitation, you get them from full commitment, from doing what needs to be done every day, not just when it feels good. There's no perfect plan, there's no ideal starting point, there's just action. You make the move, you take the step, and the path reveals itself. But that only happens after movement. It doesn't come to those who wait for clarity. Clarity comes to those who move through the fog and refuse to turn back. The hardest part is always the beginning. The first decision. The first hour of focused effort when your brain wants comfort. That's where most people quit. Not because it's impossible, but because they expected it to feel easier. You have to let go of that expectation. Nothing changes until you act. And once you act, things begin to shift faster than you ever imagined. And no, the results won't show up overnight. But the moment you act, you change. You feel different. You start to trust yourself. You start building momentum that can't be created by thinking. Thinking won't fix your life. Thinking won't get you stronger. Thinking won't make your goals real. Only doing does that. Action is the most honest form of commitment. You can talk about your goals for years. You can write them down in journals. You can visualize them every morning. But if you don't follow that up with effort, nothing changes. Not for a week. Not for a month. Not for a lifetime. This is where most people get stuck. They confuse thinking with doing. They confuse reading with applying. They confuse wanting with building. And that's why they never move. You want to break out of that cycle. Then move. Prove to yourself, with no one watching, that action has power. You don't need to overhaul your life in one day. You just need to do one thing you've been putting off. Start there. Show yourself that you don't need motivation to begin. Show yourself that progress starts the moment you stop waiting. And when you see that shift, when you feel that internal pride from finally doing something about it, you'll want to keep going. Not because it's easy, but because you finally believe it's possible. Most of the limits in your life are self-imposed, built by hesitation, strengthened by delay. But those limits fall fast when you start proving to yourself that action works. Every time you follow through, you erase a little bit of the old story. The one that says you're not disciplined enough. The one that says change is too hard. The one that says success is for someone else. All of that gets replaced with truth. The truth that you're capable of doing more than you thought. And it's not just about success. It's about freedom. When you live in your head, you live in fear. Fear of failing. Fear of what people think. Fear of not being good enough. But when you live in action, you live in clarity. You stop guessing. You stop overthinking. You stop needing every detail to be perfect. Because once you act, feedback replaces fear. You learn. You adjust. You keep moving. And over time, your life begins to reflect the work you've put in. It doesn't happen through force. It happens through consistency. One simple decision at a time, stacked day after day, until your old patterns no longer control you. Think about what you really want, not the filtered version you tell others, the real thing you've been thinking about when no one's around. That version of your life is not impossible. It's not out of reach. It just demands something from you, and what it demands is action. Action before you're ready. Action without certainty. Action that says, I'm done waiting. You don't need to feel brave. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. And once you start, your mind changes. You stop seeing obstacles as permanent. You stop viewing failure as final, because you know now through proof that you can figure things out in real time. This is the shift. This is where transformation begins. Not in a breakthrough moment, not in one life-altering event, but in the quiet decision to stop holding back and finally do the thing you've been thinking about, not once, but again and again, until it becomes who you are. That's how people change, not by waiting, not by hoping, but by acting like the future depends on it. Because it does. And every action you take, every hour you commit, every time you show up, it compounds. It builds into something real, something unshakable, something that no one can take from you, and that becomes your foundation. Built not on feelings, but on proof. Proof that you don't need perfect conditions. Proof that you don't need permission. Proof that your effort counts even if no one sees it. And that kind of belief doesn't fade. It stays with you, through doubt, through setbacks, through failure, because you know without question that action changes everything. This is your moment to prove it, to yourself, not through big talk, not through planning, but through effort. Raw, focused, honest effort. The kind you don't need to post. The kind you don't need to explain. The kind that happens behind closed doors, when it's just you and the decision to rise. And the more you do this, the less convincing you need. You don't need to hype yourself up anymore. You don't need to look for external motivation. You just move because you've done it enough times to trust the process. You're not here to stay the same. You're not here to repeat the old stories. You're here to evolve, and evolution requires one thing: movement. Real, deliberate, intentional movement. Not for one day, not for a week, but until your new identity becomes automatic. That's what action gives you. Not just results, but identity. You stop calling yourself undisciplined. You stop calling yourself inconsistent. You stop saying you're not that type of person. Because your actions start speaking louder than your doubts, and those actions become the proof you've been waiting for. So don't hesitate. Don't wait for perfect timing. Don't convince yourself it'll happen later. Do it now. Start now. Move now. Even if it's messy. Even if it's slow. Even if no one understands what you're doing yet. You're not doing this for attention. You're doing it to prove, once and for all, that action changes everything forever. And the only person who needs to believe that is you.